I had to work.
Oh, you were commentating Brazil-Croatia?
No,
Or not? Okay.
Zalgiris.
No,
Efes.
Zalgiris.
So I arrived at work earlier to watch Brazil-Croatia, and I was just praying that the game ends in the regular time. It didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, and in the extra time, when Neymar scored, I thought, okay, they're gonna finish right on time.
Mm-hmm.
I have the same story.
And all of a sudden, Petkovic scores that. I would say it was a fluke, actually, because there's a huge ricochet of Marquinhos. And it goes to penalty shootout. And the first penalty taker is arriving. And there's a countdown to my headphones, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're on air. And you could rewind the broadcast and you could hear me saying, like, good evening, everybody. Zalgiris Efes, the EuroLeague champions are in Kaunas, blah, blah, blah. Let's listen to the coaches. And then I stopped for like...
listen to the coaches.
I stopped for like 3 minutes to watch
the game
to watch the penalty shootout. And the penalty shootout is still continuing. And after I said like, the sold-out crowd in Zalgiris Arena, let's listen to the presentation. And so I was with my tablet. I finished watching the shootout, and then I focused on Zalgiris. And to be fair, in the second half, when Efes was already leading by 20, I also had my tablet and I was watching Argentina.
I have the same actual story. Like Brazil scored. We went into live LRT pregame show.
Yeah.
And it was 1-0, and we were like, okay, they're probably not going to score. We finish, and it's the first penalty shot of the penalty shootout. So it was perfect. And then when Zalgiris were down by a lot, fourth quarter was just a simple split screen action.
Yeah, I rushed back home. I managed to make it for the second half. And the worst thing is that tomorrow we have the same situation. Zalgiris Zvezda starts at 8. Argentina Croatia starts at 9. And people who know me, they know as well that I'm praying for Messi to win the World Cup. So for me, it's really painful because honestly, we support Zalgiris, but a regular season EuroLeague game doesn't compare to a World Cup semi-final. So
which happens every 4 years. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I would rather be there watching football, but that's the job.
At least the final is on Sunday. I mean, not like in the middle of the week,
but
clashing with the EuroLeague game.
I'm not sure if that's very smart for EuroLeague to do a double game week during the World Cup semifinals.
Not at all.
Why would you do that? Like,
are you so surprised?
I'm not, because they usually clash with major sporting events. But in this case, you knew well in advance the schedule for the World Cup. So why would you try to do a double game? Do a double game week during this moment.
Hypothetical station: if you have Zalgiris game in the EuroLeague and Argentina playing in the final FIFA World Cup, and the game is on Friday night, and you had this assignment to work in Zalgiris game because it's the priority for your TV, would you try to find excuses not to cover that game but go for the football final?
He would.
Or just watch the final game?
Fake COVID test. That's what I think.
Okay.
He already said that.
Fake COVID test. I think that's the way to handle this.
I'm still surprised you didn't do that for the last Friday game already.
Well, I was kind of
keep one COVID test.
I was kind of confident that Argentina will overcome the Netherlands. So
and the Zalgiris are going to be.
Let's be real.
You don't want to say it, but
let's be real. I didn't have too many expectations for Zalgiris, even though after the first 2 quarters it was tied.
By the way, before that game, I met a group of Efes fans who went there to Kaunas from Istanbul. I met particularly Arda and Sedat, 2 great guys. They had flags, they had Efes jersey. We met actually minutes before the game. They are listeners of our pod, so they give
nice.
They wished to meet Ritis in person as well for another Ataman expression, but unfortunately they didn't. But anyways, shout out to you guys. It's great to see EuroLeague fans traveling. It's not like we're used to see Efes fans traveling to EuroLeague away games. We had these experiences because we have pretty decent number of Turkish people living in Lithuania. So from time to time they go to Fenerbahce or Efes games in Kaunas. So it's nice to see a particular group traveling and following the team. And of course, when they are our listeners, it's even more amazing. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Let's start talking about some basketball. But first, before be that first guy who pressed like button before watching the entire podcast. If you don't subscribe our channel, please do it as fast as possible, and also give us 5 stars on all the audio platforms, probably, because all these small things, they really help us to grow. And on top of that, become BN Plus members on basketnews.com/plus for some extra content, just like Rytis betting tips, Augustas breakdowns, Q&A podcasts.
5 from 5 last week.
5 from 5. What a bounce back from the previous week.
1 from 5 was the previous week, and then last week 5 from 5. I went with Monaco. I went with Efes point spread. I went with Virtus total points under against Oli, and I went with Maccabi point spread against Valencia, and I don't remember the 5th pick, but it was also successful.
So if you're playing fantasy, or if you're just betting on some games, or if you do it just for fun with your friends, it's a great material, guys. So join us on basketnews.com/plus and BN Plus community. Yeah, we have a couple of games we will discuss. Of course, the nice, amazing Belgrade derby, Partizan Red Star. Also interesting end of the game between Real Madrid and Monaco. And for this episode, we will have a segment about the first EuroLeague trimester awards. I would say alternative first trimester awards. Let's start from the biggest game of the last week. Partizan Red Star. Probably the most important thing was that we didn't have any incidents, because we saw enough of ABA League or Serbian League finals with refs being attacked, with players being attacked, with a lot of stuff being thrown on the court even before the game, with players getting hurt, with the suspensions of the game, with the continuation of the game, and basically all these games usually, probably on average, they take close to 3 hours in Serbia. In EuroLeague, there was nothing. And the best thing was that you had away fans in the game, because in Serbia and Adriatic League, it's not possible for Zvezda fans to participate in the game if Partizan is the host. Here, there was a special tribune for Red Star fans, and after the game, Red Star players even stayed on the court to celebrate the victory with their fans. It sounds like it's some fake, Hollywood movie where
with a good ending.
Yeah, with a good ending. An unbelievable ending.
Why do you guys think, in the EuroLeague game there was nothing like that? Because there were some EuroLeague stuff coming to the game, or there were extra police that were thrown out there, or I don't know. The Serbians didn't want to make a scene in front of the whole Europe.
I don't know,
because there were the Serbian derby in the ABA League. 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, yeah, on Monday, and I turned that game on, and I had to wait 9 minutes in the first quarter to see the referees going out for 30 minutes and stopping the game, and it was like I knew already before turning the game on that okay, we are going to see the game stopped, the things thrown out on the court in 5-10 minutes, and the atmosphere was crazy. In the Stark Arena, and nothing similar happened. So why do you think it was different this time? Simply because it was a EuroLeague game?
I think it has to do something with. It's so weird, because the same actually happens in games between Olympiacos and Panathinaikos. You can see the difference from them playing in the local league, all these fights, violence, net around the court, and here in EuroLeague, it's different. It's pretty much it's peaceful all the time. They're facing each other. In this case, I was told that there wasn't like additional police or security forces for this game. You can't say that there was something exceptional being made before the game. Yes, EuroLeague treated the game as a high-risk game, So there were more meetings between the EuroLeague and the club. They wanted to make sure that everything will be smooth. But I mean, nothing was different compared to how the game is organized in Serbia, because of course in Serbia and local leagues, nobody wants to experience that kind of violence. But we just can guess. Maybe it's the matter of punishment and fines by the EuroLeague. I think fines in EuroLeague are way higher in terms of not just fining the club with some financial financial amount, but also by
some games without
which
fans.
is huge financial loss for the EuroLeague clubs, and basically you're just hurting your own club. And there was interesting argument I was told by one colleague that in Serbia, in the Adriatic League, when the teams are playing in the finals, they're competing for the EuroLeague. They're competing for the spot in the EuroLeague. So for you as a fan, it's kind of your last chance to help the team, to boost the team, or to make this environment impossible to work for away players or the referees, somehow to help your team. Although in a lot of situations, you kind of even hurt your team. But anyways, that's the mentality. And of course, since it's only a local thing, a lot of things behind that happen. Politics involved, some other things which we cannot understand as outsiders is involved. So maybe it's the main difference. But for me, it sounds very.
I saw
weird.
that documentary one other YouTube channel made about the derby.
Swiss cultures, maybe.
Yeah,
No?
yeah, that one, and it was just a really well portrayed, let's say 40 or 50-minute documentary about the derby, with all examples from the last year's games. And you could just see the tension growing every game. And they said it really well. It's not guaranteed who wins the ABA League gets the EuroLeague, but everybody kind of knows that it is like that. And since they don't have the license, they're playing that final, if it's like, I don't know, the end of the world there. So maybe that was the reason. From tactical point of view, from the game, my biggest takeaway was just the difference between the derby in Serbia and this one. How Partizan approached the game, let's say defensively, especially in the end. We saw before right here in the office, they were not switching in the end of the game, which is kind of weird for Partizan, because in the derby, they were switching practically 40 minutes. 40 minutes of switching, maybe not in all the situations, but in a lot of them, and they were letting Zvezda play ISO and then coming to double late. 1-2 passes and Zvezda were shooting wide open 3-pointers. So they switched it up a little bit. They still use switching, but they more, helped stunted from the one pass away. And Zvezda were prepared also for that, because it's not, something new that Partizan doesn't do. It's their tactic. And it costed extremely a lot in the last minutes. We saw it was Luka Vildoza who was wide open for the 3-point shot when they were down by 5 points, if I'm not mistaken. And so it was a pretty interesting point to see from the game. But what did you think about Kevin Punter's decisions?
I think now probably we will see a lot of things, how great Zvezda was, but at the same time, Partizan was just a couple of open looks by Kevin Punter away from winning the game. I mean, he was taking good shots, and him missing those kind of shots, being him in those good situations. I mean, he made a lot of way more difficult shots in his career.
It reminded me the
Milan's game in the Final Four, no?
Semi-final, yeah.
Yeah, in the semi-final. I mean, with a great look beyond the arc, missing the shot, and Corey Higgins hitting the game winner.
It was even the same movement. If you remember, a pump fake, dribble to the left, and the 3-point shot he made.
Yeah, and
exactly the same.
Yeah, just this time Nedovic hit the corner free, and Corey was just on the top of the key, I think.
I don't know. For me, it was. It's Kevin Punter taking the shot, so you can't be really upset about it, completely wide open. But, maybe my conclusion about it is he could have waited maybe to shoot in the last seconds, and then Zvezda would have to shoot, would have like 6 seconds to grab the rebound, run, and then shoot some, difficult shot. And here, Nedovic completely wide open. He rested for like 5 seconds before taking the shot. He seemed completely gassed out. You know, his arms were on his knees to just wait in the corner, and you know, a spot up shot to win the game, you can't really ask for, you know, anything better.
Yeah, he
And
was 0 from
obviously
6 before that shot.
that was crazy too as well.
Yeah.
So huge confidence and just, you know, probably unconsciousness at that point, because, you know, it's a tie game, so there is no pressure. You just need to shoot. And
yeah, actually,
that's
Nedovic
it.
had some great stretches throughout the first 3 quarters. I would say the fourth quarter he was just forcing some shots, but I'm just impressed how Zvezda. It's not the first time when they bounce back from a tough situation. It started from the beginning. The way Partizan started the game was something else. I mean, Vildoza or
The
anybody
energy.
else, they couldn't pass the midcourt. Actually, that's how intense Partizan's defense was, and they created a very early double-digit lead in the first few minutes. And actually, I think that the situation to turn around the momentum of the game was so important that Duško Ivanovic actually he took the earliest coaching challenge in the EuroLeague this season. He took the coach challenge in 7th minute of the game. They were down by 11. That's how important that was. One rebound. That still he didn't win that challenge, but still it probably shows how important it was for them to bounce back, to get their rhythm, and they actually managed to get it. And probably it's also related to the fact that it's not the first time when the downfall of the game starts when they when the bench players are coming off the bench and they start substitutions. And the same happened in the end of the game. I mean, the way they bounced back. I mean, watching Partizan being up by 6 points, I think, with 3 minutes to play, I thought it's over. I mean, they made some good, mentally important shots. It felt like, you know, Zvezda, this is it. They will raise their hands, and no, they managed to come back.
I'm 100% sure someone will write the comment about that missed offensive foul called on the rebound against Matthias Lesort.
Which is true.
It was -6, and it was Crvena Zvezda momentum completely, and that rebound, you know, they could have gotten the rebound, went into the offense and scored +8. The game is probably over. Instead, you are it's just the difference is 4 points, and you know the game is up for grabs. So that was a huge non-call. And talking about the rebounds, I mean, the way Matthias Lesort started the game, 6 offensive rebounds in the first 13 minutes, and then just
5 in the first 4.
and then just 1. But you know, he was taking those rebounds, and he had like 4 putback points. But then whenever he couldn't tip the ball in immediately, Partizan were never scoring from that. He had 3 offensive rebounds alone in 1 possession, and the 4th try finished in a turnover. So how frustrating it has to be for him, for a player to get 3 offensive rebounds and your team can't score in 4 tries. So
it was actually pretty awful shooting night. I mean, I remember that after the 2 quarters, I think both teams were like 1 from 16 or 17 beyond the arc, although they actually had some nice, decent looks throughout the game. So I don't know.
I mean, Rytis said it well. He chose, you know,
chose quality.
You chose quality over the, I don't know, atmosphere and the derby.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I watched Monaco Real Madrid game.
I was actually working. I mean, my I wouldn't say boss, but probably that's a strong word, boss. A person who's in charge of commentators in our channel just asked me, "You want to go for the derby or you want to go for Monaco Real Madrid?" I thought about it for a second, and I realized
there was Mike James in the equation.
I realized I'm gonna get more pleasure from Real Madrid Monaco. So I said, yeah, let's do it. But I think Partizan Zvezda had bigger audience even in Lithuania, although the games were separated by half an hour probably. So if somebody finished watching Partizan Zvezda, they still managed to make it to the 4th quarter of Real Madrid Monaco.
To the best part.
But honestly, after Monaco game, it was a really extended game, not only because of the overtime, but also there was this almost 10-minute stop because of Jordan Lloyd. And it was really scary. So I got back home. I was really tired. I thought, should I watch the Belgrade derby? And I realized I just don't have it in me. So I just went through the highlights. I loved actually seeing the reception for Alexander Mitrovic in the arena.
Yeah.
Mitro's on fire. he seemed kind of shy first.
I was watching the game this morning because I also didn't watch it live, and just all the morning in between watching, I'm like, singing the song that the Partizan song that they're also always singing before the game, and I'm like, I don't know any of the words, but I know that it finishes in saying the team's name, and I was like, Partizan, and then it's like all over again,
Yeah,
so you can get addicted to this atmosphere.
No, I mean the atmosphere. I'm looking forward to seeing the derby in Crvena Zvezda's place, because I know it's going to be the same crazy atmosphere, the same songs before, and maybe the quality is not as good as in Monaco and Real Madrid's game, but it's for me it's one game that you really have to watch.
I'm looking forward to getting this crazy T-shirt of Duško Ivanovic. I saw on Twitter, somewhere on Twitter, there's merch with. Probably you also saw some. I think it was post-game interviews with Duško Ivanovic and just hat, giving the interview with the hat on himself, and you have this braid out of it, and he was in some kind of sweater, not in his costume. Some people are surprised how he manages to switch from a suit to practice outlook, I would say. And there's this great merch. I think it's both in red and white. Of course, it's Red Stars merch. And there's this just silhouette of Ivanovic, this hat and the braid, being like that. So it looks so cool.
So we immediately recognize who it is on the shirt.
Of course. And it would be nice fit for our Hall of Fame wardrobe of the pod, because Duško is creating history. 5 game winning streak.
One more to tie the record?
Yeah, Zvišarf, legendary Zvišarf, 15 years ago, I think he won 6 in a row after the head coach.
And you have Zalgiris at home as your next game.
Yes,
without Brasdeikis, without Lekavicius.
Yeah.
Is Thomas Dimša going to play Carlos Lukashvili?
I don't remember, but
I'm not sure.
It seems like
Zalgiris is suffering right now.
It seems like a COVID issue.
Yeah,
kinda.
Well, you have. In basketball, you have like the brow when you're talking about Anthony Davis, and all of a sudden you have the ponytail.
Yeah,
talking about Duško.
Yeah, they're hosting hosting Žalgiris and then Milan in double round week. So that's a decent chance for Duško to create
to tie
history.
the record and
to pass the record. Zvišarf. Yeah, and just a few words about Duško. I mean, the biggest change, Augustas did a great video breakdown, actually. You can find it on YouTube channel. What's the title of the...
How Duško Ivanovic rebuilt Crvena Zvezda's defense.
Yeah, and the biggest change, of course, was in defense. Because, for example, I checked Bibalytics, and the biggest statistical difference was that, okay, their offense they're still struggling offensively. From 15th best, they managed to grew up to 13th, but defensively from 15th best defensive rating, now they're second best team by defense.
When I was doing the video, after I think it was 3 won games, they had the number 1 even from 15th.
Okay, but it's even more remarkable to get that in extended stretch. And actually, just one guy I wanted to focus on this part was Luka Vildoza. I mean, to be honest, I never was a fan of Luka Vildoza, especially in his last years with Baskonia. I was missing just confidence in his game, confidence shooting the ball or taking better decisions. To be honest, I thought that he's a little bit overrated player. And after his NBA experience, I mean, it wasn't the most remarkable NBA experience for him. He wasn't playing. I was unsure what kind of Luka Vildoza we'll see. Of course, it's Red Star. It's a different caliber EuroLeague team, but still, and especially the most hilarious moment was that, from what I've heard, he parted ways with. He left Baskonia for the NBA deal, but the last season with Duško, he was playing for Duško in Baskonia. There was a lot of friction between them, and it didn't seem that Luka Vildoza enjoyed basketball playing under Duško. Not on that level like Nick Stauskas, who didn't want to come to return to Europe just because of Duško. But I mean, it was really bad. And just imagine his situation. Luka Vildoza is returning to Europe. Maybe he's also a little bit unsure of his quality and status for this EuroLeague. He's playing for Ivanovic, and in 4 weeks, Duško Ivanovic is coming back. I mean, taking over the club. The coach you probably tried to run away, he's back and he's coaching you. And yeah, I mean, I think it's challenging, but probably in some time, sometimes we manage to find some compromises or think things over and to take the best of that experience. And watching him play, I mean, I see him confident. I see him taking good decisions. I see him putting his heart out defensively. He's playing really intense basketball and he's very productive. I mean, scoring almost 14 points per game on 45% three-point shooting, 4.2 assists, 3 rebounds, 2.2 steals in this 5-game winning streak. So it's nice to see Luka Vildoza thriving under Ivanovic.
Just to wrap up is I can't imagine Zvezda's starting roster for the season and how they look now. A completely different coach. There is Luka Vildoza instead of Jalen Adams. You might be adding another player right now, and it's just these
it's
completely different, completely different roster and completely different playing style. Because as you mentioned, the intensity is now there. Let's jump to the Monaco Real Madrid game.
We're here to listen to Ritas because watching these probably main highlights of the end of the game and remembering what we were talking about after the Final Four, for example, or in some other situations, I was like watching these plays and I'm like, oh, Ritas will have so much to say about this situation, about that situation. So the mic is yours.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well, first of all, I want to say that it was pure pleasure to watch this game and to cover this game. Both teams really played hard from the very beginning. This is the case where you have a high-scoring game, but it's not because lack of defense or lack of effort. It's just because there's a spectacular play after play after play. For Real Madrid, this game was important also because it was Yabusele's comeback game, but at the same time, they were without Gabi Deg, who is one of their most consistent players this season. Obviously, Canan Musa is really spectacular, and I continue to admire him every single week, and in this game as well, he had some incredible moments, some clutch moments. Eddie Tavares actually had his career record in rebounds. It was his career high. Although you can see that in many situations this season, Tavares feels uncomfortable. He's not happy with some early calls, and this sort of, irritates him. And then throughout the game, you can see that he focuses a little bit too much on the refs. Of course, he's dominant. Of course, he has a huge monster double-double. But at the same time, he gets into foul trouble. And then Chus Mateo has his rotation prepared. And what I don't like about this pre-prepared rotation is that it puts some of your players out of rhythm. Then you face the situation where Tavares was playing extended minutes. Vincent Poirier was pretty solid on offense in the first half, but he only played less than 5 minutes. And he was sitting on a bench for so long. And then Tavares fouls out. And you just have to put Vincent Poirier back on the court, and he's cold. And the same happened with the point guards, because now he has this sort of plan that he starts with Williams Goss for the first 5 or 6 minutes. Then Sergio Llull enters the game. Afterwards, Sergio Rodriguez enters the game. Then Williams Goss starts the third quarter and again plays 5 or 6 minutes. And you sort of know when everybody's going to enter the game. But foul troubles happen, injuries might happen, and I'm not so sure if that's the best approach. Then you see Chacho Rodriguez being back on the court again, being cold, and he missed some wide open spot-up shots.
In the overtime, right?
Usually he would bury those shots, and he didn't. I think it was 2 missed shots in a row in the same possession because they had an offensive rebound. And what Monaco really did well, in my opinion, is they didn't overreact to bad stretches, because it's very easy to actually lose the game in your mind when you're in Madrid. It's Real Madrid, one of the best teams. Now you're down by 8 in the fourth quarter. They hit some consecutive 3-pointers. Sasha Obradovic takes a timeout. He encourages his players to fight till the end. They come back and they make a good play after a timeout, which is always a very good sign. When the team responds after a timeout with a good play, it shows that it's a really well-coached team. And, of course, some things you cannot predict. What happened to Jordan Lloyd, it was really scary. I didn't know what to say on air at that time. And I was so relieved when I heard next morning that Jordan Lloyd actually himself tweeted that everything's fine. Of course, he's going to need some time now. But it's glad to know that he's okay.
His selfie was also amazing.
But the craziest thing, in my opinion, is that Mike James was standing there on the court for like 5 minutes watching his teammates suffering. And then after those 5 minutes, he just makes the most spectacular play of the season. A 4-point play over the stretched arms of the giant Eddie Tavares.
Another Hollywood script.
That is just...
Although I'm not sure what's more impressive, him hitting that shot, but the decision by Walter Tavares to jump on Mike James.
Yeah, it's not smart. You're up by 4.
Give that 3-pointer away. Just take the inbound, and you're winning the game.
Yeah, I do agree. And Tavares was tweeting something like Mike James extended his legs. I give you that, but there was plenty of contact even on the arm, so I think it was a foul.
I actually talked about that particular play with some, let's say, experts, and they told that his main problem was that even though Mike James kicked him, the problem was that Tavares was moving forward. Yep. Although he tweeted that he was moving away, still the move was forward. So there was no chance that Mike James was called for offensive foul or Tavares wasn't called for a defensive foul.
And I still have a few talking points from this game, but the crazy thing is that Mike James was fouled shooting a 3-pointer before. And he missed 3 free throws. Mm-hmm. So in this case, he has a free throw to tie the game, but before he missed 3 in a row. But he did hit the free throw. He did tie the game. And what I was disappointed with is Real Madrid. They had 4.3 seconds to prepare the last shot. They just didn't do nothing. The ball was given to their best player, but he had to take a shot from 9 meters away off the dribble. They didn't do nothing.
Or the situation at the end of the extra time.
4 seconds is more than enough to prepare some short set so you can free one of your players and have a good look. Nothing was done.
I'm looking at this play, but decision by Canan Musa to pull up with 30 seconds from 8.5 meters also.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still 3 seconds left. And the idea, there was no other idea, just to play ISO. And to make the gap to him for him to attack right. And just, he's pulling up with 3 seconds to go.
But that's something you expect to see in the NBA. You give the ball to Dame Lillard and it's Dame time. In EuroLeague, usually when there's a timeout and the team is going for a game winner, you expect some action.
Yeah.
Nothing happened here. And I remember Real Madrid against Olympiacos. Same situation. The game is tied. They have the final possession. They just inbound the ball to Tavares and he goes for a hook shot. Maybe that's something Mateo...
That was even worse. Even worse than because the execution there was wrong. They tried to some lob play, it seemed, but there was another guy there, so you couldn't really throw it. This one, at least, the idea was clear, but the idea was, isolation play for Canan Musa, and he thought, okay, Mike James can hit a random 3-pointer.
I can do it.
I can do it as well,
So that's something for Mateo probably to learn. But learning from your mistakes is a good thing. But it seems that Real Madrid is not learning from their own mistakes. What happened in last season's EuroLeague final?
Replay of the final.
Being down by 1, the shot clock and game clock separated by 2 seconds. They're not fouling. 4
seconds. But still, it's not enough to get the rebound and to create the possession.
And in this game, it was separated by 3.5 probably.
Yeah.
And they just allowed Mike James to run the clock. And
did his best at,
And Mike James created plenty of space to actually hit the dagger. So he makes the shot. It's a 4-point game. It's over. He misses. You need to grab the rebound. And what do? You take a mid-court shot at best. And I don't get it. It's such an experienced team with so much experience. I'm not only talking about the coach. I'm talking about the whole team, the roster, the players, so many veterans. How can you not read these simple situations? It's not even like a basketball decision. It's common sense decision.
Of course, probably it was the order by the head coach, but I would love to see Tavares or Yui, Rudy, all these veterans protesting the decision to replay the last year's final. Because I was actually watching the bench. What was their reaction during the last possession? They were not reacting, actually. So I was surprised that it was just once again, team decision not to foul and not even question the situation.
And a few more quick takes. So first of all, it's so strange to see Mario Hezonja being used as a defensive player. He finished the game with 0 points, but he had to work on defense against Mike James. He was fouled out. So it's kind of hard to see an elite talent becoming a defensive player, at least in this particular game. Another thing, Elio Kobo and his confidence is rising. He's really having a good season. He was cold. He couldn't hit a three-pointer in this game. But when it mattered the most, when Monaco were down by 5 and the game was slipping away, he did make a clutch three-pointer that brought them back in the game, that brought them back in the position to at least force an overtime. And of course, in the last possession, it was kind of a difficult situation because James was penetrating. Then he had to kick the ball to Demo. Demo is not known for three-point shooting, at least this season. He only hit 1 three-pointer, I believe.
Could be.
But he had to take it. He missed it. Then the whole sequence with Jordan Lloyd happened. And afterwards, you know what happened. So these are a couple of talking points as well. And another thing that I loved, Chus Mateo, in the end, I believe, of the second quarter, just put Eli Njai, the youngster, on defense against Mike James because he wanted a bigger body. And Mike all of a sudden realizes, oh, there's a teenager guarding me. I'm gonna put him to school. So he just went 1-on-1 in ISO and a step back, and Eli Njai was like lost somewhere. So it was a pretty impressive game. I loved it. I really believe that Real Madrid and Monaco are both Final Four material teams, but in this case, I saw Monaco being the better coached team.
That's true. And
I still can't believe how they didn't foul.
I mean, even George Lauskas, I watched the game on EuroLeague TV. George Lauskas was shouting all over the place. I really believe that Chus Mateo probably heard him somewhere being on the sidelines. Lauskas, what? It's again Olympiacos final. No. Not Olympiacos, but EuroLeague final. Yeah. And I actually thought when I gave the platform for you that you will repeat yourself as well with this NBA rule, which you can bring to the EuroLeague. To
the
put
in-game
the timeouts.
timeouts.
Yeah, in-game timeouts. Yeah. At least, for example, the last minute of the game. One timeout for the team, to stop the play with that rebound and like 3 or 2 seconds.
That would be enough.
You don't want to see the game decided with the full court shot. You want to see some sets, maybe something better than this Jalan Musa situation or Tavares, but at least to give a better opportunity to score the ball and to create more of these game-winning situations that makes the highlights that makes the stories.
It's true.
It's I was thinking right now when you said about this, like Mike James shot with 2.5 seconds, I believe. What he could have done is, I don't know if you've seen, read this on YouTube and Udonatas, some NBA players have done, throwing the ball up in the air with like, if there is like 2 seconds left, you throw it at the last seconds of the shot clock and the ball comes back and there is no time left. Probably 2 seconds passes while the ball is still in the air. Of course, one time it didn't work and the other...
Peterson.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But Mike James could have done the same. The ball, comes back maybe with 1 or 2 seconds remaining and all Real can do, first, take the ball and just shoot, something like that. So, how they didn't follow, I don't know, but the timeout rule would be great. Just imagine how much more drama, how much more game winners
much
we
more
would see.
Buzzer beaters, exactly.
And, that's what we need.
I also loved how Mike James explained his 4-point play on television. The reporter asked, talk us through all of that. And I'm still full of emotions. So Mike's like, I pretty much knew that. I shouted to JB that I'm going to get the ball, and I was pretty confident I'm going to shoot it. So I just shot it and went in.
Just like, you know, just
a regular
after
It's
sleep,
it's
you know.
just a regular
Surprise
day in
the
the
guy.
office, man. What do you expect?
I mean, 4-point play to force
Against
the
Tavares.
overtime. I mean, I do it for
Against Tavares,
for
man.
breakfast. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a very, very good game. And again, it makes you wonder about Real Madrid. How deep are they? Like, you see players
They're
injured.
too deep, man.
You see Gabi Deck with a cap. You see Rudy Fernandez sitting next to him. You see Anthony Randolph there, Alacen there. You see some players entering the rotation in the middle of the second quarter.
they have 2 teams.
Actually.
It's unfair, actually.
They should borrow some players for Milan. I don't know.
Like Monaco would be more than happy to have some depth because, for example, they have a player that is not performing at all in Adrian Mormon. He's a solid EuroLeague veteran, but he's just not performing this season.
But they have a rotation deep enough, you know, a 7, 8 man, 9 man rotation.
Yeah.
And until you don't have injuries, that's more than enough. I mean, everybody knows the role. Everybody knows more or less your playing time. And the playing time is actually, you know, satisfying. Not, you know, probably... I can't imagine some of these Real Madrid players, you know, playing limited minutes, you know, Nigel Williams, Goss, you know, if there were 2 point guards, he would play much more. But now, since there's 3, everybody has to get some time, or you even don't play one. So,
But I'm just saying, like, if Monaco is clearly a guard-oriented team, and they would love to have good spot-up shooters in other positions. And for example, Adrian Mormon just cannot buy a bucket right now. His percentages are terrible. John Brown, he's always giving you energy, but you cannot say that he's very effective on offense. So
that mid-range only.
and also you have Blossom Game, who's not very consistent shooting the ball. Alpha Diallo is the only other consistent player offensively. He's always giving you effort, but he's also giving you points in the paint, and he's a solid spot-up shooter. But anyway, this Monaco team could be even better, and it would unlock so much more if players like Mormon that are supposed to stretch the floor could actually hit some shots.
I believe he will get it going. I mean, we saw that for Anadolu Efes.
He's 7 of 34 this season. Matiunas is 3 of 12. And actually, Monaco's on the market. They're looking for a stretch 4. And probably it's related to the fact that maybe Moerman is not meeting up their expectations.
Maybe because he started the game. He played 4 minutes and then he didn't come back on the court after that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go for our last but the longest part of the pod, the
longest
alternative first EuroLeague trimester award. Okay, maybe we might be quick. We'll see.
I mean, some of these are
no-brainers.
C-mob,
Yeah.
So
yeah, probably.
But so, maybe, you know, I'm thinking for me it is no-brainer, and then you are going to say too.
Yeah,
but yeah,
for example,
some of them,
in some situations with some awards, I try to be original because you kind of predict what somebody else might say, so you have to give something different.
Let's go.
And yeah, we have few alternative awards presented by Agnes Sakavicius. Actually, he made up all those
nice titles.
Yeah, interesting titles, and we actually just before the pod, I didn't say to read this yet, but we eliminated this award for the best stats and the lowest production, something like that, or the worst team result.
Best individual stats, not empty stats, but not a good team player.
Yeah, we want to be all positive in this segment. Okay, if we're
this,
giving awards, we want to give positive
on this
awards.
snowy Monday.
We might do some negative awards, but maybe next time. So yeah, let's start with the Mr. Underrated, the most underrated player. That's been the toughest one for me. So I'm curious to hear.
Not the toughest one. I have 3 names, and I'm going to go with.
You have to pick one.
Matt Costello.
Okay, he was on my list
from Baskonia.
Yeah. He was on my list.
Okay. Could you elaborate?
I just enjoy centers who can shoot. His energy, his intensity, and to me, he seems like a player that every team would want to have as your, a good team as a backup center. And, whenever Steven Enoch is not playing, he wasn't playing, he was really doing a great job filling in and just I think he's a little bit underrated in the context of the EuroLeague. I had another Baskonia name in this category. You probably know Darius Thompson, but I think he's getting the recognition he deserves. Okay. He has bigger stats, and also I had Rodrigue Beaubois in this category as well, because you have so many great names on Anadolu Efes team, and not a lot of people talk about him, but he's been very productive this season, giving a lot of options off the ball. But still, he is an ex-NBA player, and Matt Costello, is a little bit underrated name. Probably the most underrated name from those three I had.
Is it fair to say like Matt Costello is the Kevin Love of EuroLeague?
Could say that. Coming off the bench, knocking down 3-pointers.
But at least he had status in the NBA before. Costello was never recognized as some, let's say, big time player.
He might be.
I think after this season, if Baskonia makes the playoffs, a lot of players from that team will become bigger.
Costello already has qualities that make him an attractive player on the market, and I'm talking about the elite teams. If you see guys like Amat Mbaye finding his place in the EuroLeague champions. I could easily see Costello on any of the top.
Coming from a lower level,
following Voigtman's path.
Actually, I have listed as an underrated player, but maybe now he is probably rated. But a couple of years ago, he was actually underrated by myself. So I have to talk about him. It's Nicolas Laprovitola, and could you imagine where Barcelona would be without Nico? He's the engine of the team. And he was the engine of the team in the second part of last season. And right now, he's their best guard and you could say their best player since Mirotic just recently came back on the court. Laprovitola is averaging almost 15 points per game, shooting 60% from 2-point range, 44% from 3-point range, 4.5 assists per game. And the style of play, he just gives Barca something different, because we know it's a team being coached by Charas with very strict rules and the system they have to follow. But Laprovitola is just a game changer, a breath of fresh air in
the
this
Argentinian freedom.
A breath of fresh air in this strict system-based basketball, and I just love watching him play. And I think that was a very good quote by Juan Carlos Navarro last season when he said, like, Laprovitola is the player that reminds me of myself. And I could see that actually with all these floaters and the freedom when he has the ball. I love him, and I think he's underrated because people still don't list him as one of those top elite guards in the EuroLeague. But he should be in the discussion.
I believe, and I was one of these guys who thought that can he really repeat what he did the last year? I was doubtful. I mean, there was Satoransky joining the team, there was Corey Higgins coming back, and I thought that Nico's role will reduce, but not at all. I mean, he's still so important, and he's a pleasure to watch in this Barcelona team. I have a player who I think is not getting enough credit in that team, or when everybody's talking about that team, because when everybody speaks of Real Madrid, it's Walter Tavares, now of course Janan Musa, there are some other great stars, but I believe that Gabriel Deck deserves credit for having amazing EuroLeague season so far. He has career highs in every important department. Points, 12.9, efficiency, 16.9, rebounds, 6.5, assists, 2.3, and steals, 0.9. He has second best plus minus in the entire EuroLeague. And I mean, in the games I watched, he was really solid, and he's super solid all-around player. Very tough matchup. In a small forward position, he can play as a 4. He made some important plays already this season, and I mean, it was a bit unfortunate timing for him. And he joined Real Madrid last year. It was already a huge booster for them, but it actually clashed the time when Real Madrid started their downfall. But now, I mean, of course, team started the season really slowly, but he was an important piece of them getting back on winning track and having this extended winning streak. So Gabriel Deck is a beast in this position, and he's super important and very uncomfortable matchup for the elite EuroLeague teams.
So we have 2 Argentinian players here.
Yeah. Nice.
Best
Best
bench
bench must-have player. So best bench player.
Okay, Donatas, so your answer is clear. You have
That's a strange way to
give an award for
form
Giannulis
sixth man
Larentzakis.
of the year.
Yeah.
It's just sixth man
Agnes
of the
tried
year.
to be original, and I enjoyed these titles.
Yeah, that's nice.
But I have the answer, the right answer.
Okay.
Will
The
Clyburn
objective
has
answer.
started 6 games from the bench.
You cannot call
Yeah,
him
okay,
a bench
I'm
player, man.
kidding. Marko Guduric has started 12 games from the bench. Does he count then? All the games.
Yeah, he does.
He is he's Scotty Wilbekin is the starting guard, and
We're not talking that
Yeah.
the guy doesn't finish games. We're talking about someone who
yeah, that was
enters.
my thought process as well, because Marko Guduric and Kostas Lukas, but they're both players that have started games from the bench, and I don't know. I just wanted to appreciate how great Marko Guduric has been this season.
Yeah.
It seems like he has a little added some energy to his step compared to last season. He has been great shooting the ball. 60, 40, 80, I think are the percentages, 12 points in 20 something minutes of playing time. And he has been, it's not easy to play when you have a guy like Scotty Wilbekin in front of you, and to remain confident, to be active every time you step on the floor, and to make good decisions is what keeps him playing a lot, and keeps Dimitris Doudis confident in Guduric. So I think he is making an extra step, and I think he's the best bench player, if he counts as one for you guys.
I agree. Marco is great. The biggest question mark for him entering the season was, can he play next to these ball handlers, as I mentioned, Scott Wilbeck and Nikolaitis? Because among some basketball people, they've always questioned if he can deal with his ego, with his mentality of being secondary or the third ball handler of the team. So far, he was amazing. I mean, the confidence, how decent he is on the court, and he's playing on his contract year. So I believe that he for sure earns a solid paycheck for the next couple or 3 seasons after he finishes this one.
I'm interested to hear your options.
I have to go with Slukas. I mean, what else can I say? I know he's a closer. It doesn't really matter whether he starts the game or he enters from the bench. It probably just gives Barsokas more balance when he starts with Walkup and Cannon, and then Slukas enters the game and starts doing his thing. And he plays 25 minutes per game, and he obviously is always there on the court to finish the game, and he's, as I said, a closer. And Mr. Consistency is probably how we should call Kostas Lukas right now. He can do better shooting free, actually. It's only 25% this season. Maybe he loves the mid-range more than he loves the free, but either way, he's so clutch, and I think anyone would love to have Kostas Lukas as their point guard in Europe.
Facts.
Anyone? So my answer is clear, right?
Janulis Larentzakis. We can
Janulis
go to the
Larentzakis.
best highlights.
This
player.
award was just made for me to mention Janulis Larentzakis. just some facts. I mean, he scores 5.8 points in the 4 quarters, which is second best next to Will Clyburn. He's making 64% 3-point shoots in the 4 quarters. He's not afraid of anybody. He's always involved in all these trash talk situations. Sometimes it ends not so good for him, as in this case with Mike James, for example, in the game against Monaco. But when you're his opponent, you hate him. When you're a teammate of the Snake, you just love him. So, I mean, I agree with you. Both Slukas, both Guduric, Will Clyburn, anybody else, of course. If that would be a 6th Man of the Year award for the entire season, for sure these guys are in front. But we have to give him at least some credit for this first trimester award ceremony.
For
so
sure.
Larentzakis is my pick. The next one, highlight machine, the best highlights player.
That for me, I thought Rytis and I have the same answer.
I don't know, man. What do we consider a highlight? So I actually have a strange pick, maybe. Derek Williams. Derek Williams had a 19-point quarter, Derek Williams put up a show in Zalgiris Arena. Fast break dunks, fadeaway, one-legged fadeaway shots. This season, when he gets hot, he's really entertaining.
Making every shot possible.
He's one of the best dunkers in the EuroLeague. I mean, we know those power dunkers like Nebo or Hall, but I'm talking about someone who can do a windmill, and that's Derek Williams. So this season, he has been actually a human highlight machine, at least in EuroLeague's context. It's kind of hard in EuroLeague sometimes to make these spectacular plays. It's not like we have Zion Williamson or Giannis Antetokounmpo in the league, but Derek Williams, this season, he's been fun to watch, really.
You, Augustus?
Mike James.
That's what I was talking about. Like, Mike James had a lot of spectacular plays, but when we're talking about highlights, sometimes you want to focus on spectacular dunks.
No, but Derek Williams is, I would say, the best dunker in the EuroLeague, and it's always entertaining to see him in the fast break and go on those crazy runs, as you mentioned. But just Mike James, sometimes you don't really believe with your eyes what you have seen as this free plus the foul. I mean, the replay from the back, where you see that how the ball was going so high up just to throw that shot, and the camera from the side, the main camera, had to zoom out during the shot a little bit just to take all the arcing. I mean, it's ridiculous. And all these assists while jumping, no looks, bullet passes to the corners. For me,
I love those off-balanced mid-range shots where he uses the backboard.
Yeah. I mean,
those are so difficult. Maybe when you just watch basketball, you don't realize how difficult it is to make a shot like that. It's so difficult, and he
takes the most difficult shots in the EuroLeague for sure.
I actually also had Mike James. I had a tough with this one because we have two very similar awards: highlight machine and looking forward to, which is most fun team or player to watch. So my answer is related to Monaco and Mike James. If we have to exclude the individuals, that's Mike James for sure, because it's. The highlight is also him trash talking with Will Clyburn in one game, then killing Giannulis Larizakis in the Olympiacos game. I mean, that's also the highlight for me. That's whether it's on or off the court highlight. It's Mike James. So looking forward to most fun team or player to watch for you guys.
Just Monaco, and I don't think I should repeat myself.
I have Baskonia.
Yeah, okay.
Most fun team to watch.
Fair enough.
But is it Baskonia particularly in Buesa Arena?
Or
is it Baskonia
I have to make this one a particular answer,
Because you need a disclaimer. Baskonia, but at home.
Yes, exactly. Their offense works different when they're in Vitoria. It's wonderful to watch their spread offense, and Marcus Howard, before Pierre Henry came, he was putting on a show every time he stepped on the court. Pierre Henry is also an entertaining player. He can make the crazy play, then he can make a crazy play, not in that kind of good way, but it's still entertaining to see. Everyone can shoot, even Matt Costello, as I mentioned before. And Peñarroya has been doing a really great job has done a really great job with that team. So
actually, Baskonia has a tradition of playing a lot of fast breaks and playing up-tempo basketball. Coaches change there all the time, but the culture doesn't. They usually have a roster that is basically built for up-tempo basketball. They have a lot of players that love to run in the open court, and it has been like this for 20 years, I believe.
And the guards that they have signed recently have all been Shane Larkin, Mike James, Marcus Howard. I mean, you can see
Darius Adams.
You can see the pattern here. I mean, they're all top scorers, and but the coach also, for me, adds to this equation, because Peñarroya has some really interesting ideas, really interesting set plays that go viral on Twitter after. So it's really nice to see them play.
I didn't foul. Award goes to
for you. Most fun team to watch. Monaco?
Yeah, Monaco.
Oh, okay.
I won't extend because we already
Yeah,
discussed
sure.
A
enough.
player that complains the most.
This was the hardest for me.
I don't know.
I mean, Luka Doncic in the
It's an
the
easy
NBA,
pick.
it's an easy one, but I don't have one player that now stands out.
Yeah, actually, Luka put the standard so high that now
Exactly
everybody
after the
besides
Eurobasket.
him. Yeah.
But I will go with the Colo
Okay.
because
True.
These vets,
he's known for flopping, and sometimes when he doesn't get things his way, he starts complaining, and you can see him all the time just mumbling something on the referee, like he's not happy he didn't get the call. He probably, we should consider him a star in the EuroLeague, even though he's a veteran and playing for Asvel. He obviously considers him a big name player, and now you're playing for Asvel. You're not playing for Fenerbahce, so it's not that you're gonna get those extra free throws.
and you're losing, and you get frustrated because of that
Yes,
also.
and I respect his game a lot, but he's been known for many years as a player who tends to complain, and the other teams don't like playing against him because he flops a
He
lot.
likes to create fouls.
Yes, exactly. So maybe
Good-
I
good
can
pick.
pick him, but I could say that in EuroLeague we have a pretty good player-referee relationship. Like
Yeah.
I don't
Compared
see
to-
too much hate towards the refs from the players, and I don't see too much arrogance from the refs towards the players.
Maybe it's because also EuroLeague refs do such a great job. Maybe every referee is a human person. They miss one call, but they respond to your you're maybe complaining, and they respond to you. Okay, I missed one call, but I'm going.
It should
Actually,
be technical. and
I
this-
could
this is
mention
it. This is
another
over.
name. I could mention another
Vasilija
name.
Micic, maybe.
That's another one.
Honorable to
But
mention.
What I wanted to say is that the player barely played this season. This is why maybe it's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, because it's
talk
first
about
trimester
him.
award. Yeah.
But Marius Grigonis,
Yeah.
do you remember his last season in Zalgiris when he was really shooting the lights out? But
No, he's surpassed the Colo, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, that year the
Exactly.
award went for him. I actually had Matt Costello because he's the only guy who can
That's a good.
who can elbow
Great
you
one,
in
great
the
one.
head. You can just black out from that situation. And he's like, "What? Foul? For me, it's a bullshit." And he goes to the referee. He says
Remember that
nothing
game
can
against
happen.
Zalgiris?
Uh,
All Baskonia team were going crazy for about
I
no
think
maybe
that
no not Zalgiris game.
this play was from the other game.
Other game
Maybe
Baskonia had.
Olympiacos. I don't really remember, but I was like watching that play. Obvious, he hit the guy in his head by his elbow. Obvious call, and he's complaining so much as he is now saying that.
But it was the whole Baskonia team in that game.
yeah, that's true.
I remember.
especially until the end of the game, and maybe it was
Yeah.
Partizan or Olympiacos. I don't remember really
It was
well.
just
but
funny to see 5 players going around the
Yeah.
court like this and just.
Getraitis was called for some fouls also, with clear
every-
fouls.
everyone
Getraitis
was-
actually can make this list as well.
So many Lithuanians I'm mentioning now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why they signed me award, best summer signing.
is it so hard? We could just say it all at once.
1, 2, 3.
Will Clyburn.
Nicolaitis.
Okay. Expand your
I mean,
difference.
I knew you're probably gonna choose Will Clyburn,
Okay.
and for me, it's more because of how he was portrayed last season, and Fenerbahce still went and said, "We are going to get this guy. He's our main point guard, and he is going to be the same player that he was a little bit before." And they're at the top of the league. And I know if we are giving out this award at the end of the season, it's probably going to be Will Clyburn. I agree, guys. But for the first trimester, I had to go with Nick and how he has bounced back. His shooting percentages, insane.
48.
They are in the first place, which let's say we did not expect that. We predicted 6th or 7th before the season. So Will Clyburn is probably going to be, the winner of this award after the end. But for now, Nicolaitis.
I mean, just to expand about Will, the meaning of this award, like that's why they signed me. I just thought that, okay, we pay you 2 million, we sign you as a very important player of our team, and you have to produce in every single game. And he's doing that. I mean, no matter who is playing, whether it's EuroLeague game or Turkish League game, he's playing like, he played probably 50 minutes in this Karşıyaka double overtime game.
47 and 48 minutes in him.
Yeah, and he's delivering on both leagues. And I was actually told that he's that guy. He's playing 47 minutes, and during the timeout, he's not even sitting on the bench. He's just standing there, listening to the orders. And I mean, for me, Will is an amazing example when you're reading the game and situation well, and how you approach your career, how far you can go. He was never known as a three-point threat before. Since he's playing years in Darüşşafaka, he was just a 29 three-point shooting percentage specialist, a three-pointer. But now he's like averaging more than 40%. He's taking tough shots. He increased his career high by 5 points. And you can say that, yeah, Shane Larkin is not playing, but I mean, Will Clyburn is delivering. That's what was expected from Efes owners. They made a very risky move by signing Will Clyburn in terms of pay him that kind of money in a situation where they were not sure if Larkin or Micic goes to the NBA. And actually, I've heard that it created kind of some additional financial problems, because Efes, they were quite sure that one of them for sure they will go into NBA. So now you have Will Clyburn, 2 million player on top of your
other two
salary cap. Yeah. So, but that's the best part about
serious
Will.
Money.
He's delivering, and sometimes you can feel that he doesn't care, because in his body language is like, I don't care. He's so ice cold, ice-blooded assassin, that he might have this, you might have his different view watching him play, but actually it's not. He just wants to kill everybody, and even in this Karşıyaka game, he plays 47 minutes. He has huge usage offensively, and in defense, he wants to stop Eric McCollum in the last play. I mean, he's ridiculous. He really deserves this award, and for sure, he's in the MVP of the season race. That's a fact. Nothing to add.
Nope.
Okay.
Do you need to say something about Will Clyburn?
The best wet so far.
Actually, a hard one. I don't know.
You mentioned all those things about Nick Kalaitis, because I had Nick on my best veteran.
Where do we draw the line? Who's a vet and who's not?
I mean, Nick turns 34 in February. I think it's
I don't know.
We're talking about wets, no?
Nando De Colo I had.
He's like 35 or 36. I mean, that's a
I don't know.
conversation.
For me,
should
like,
set some rules.
But I was going through the players, and there is EuroLeague has less veterans probably than ever. I mean, all the main guys.
Felipe Reyes, Yankunas, role player veterans.
Exactly,
right?
Like Printezis Panoulis left, and
we have Rodriguez and Yul in Madrid, or Rudy
Fernandez.
But they're just role players.
Brian Dunstan.
Like helpers, you could say. And if we're talking about veterans being key players, then that's Nikolai is running the show in Istanbul, and Nando De Colo leading Asvel. And probably you're picking out of these two. And should I go with Kalaitis? The team is leading the standings.
35, De Colo.
But then again, you're not expecting Asvel to lead the standings. They are where they're supposed to be with 4 and 8. But just recently, De Colo...
Nick is 33.
He turns 34 in February.
Yeah. And De Colo just recently hit the dagger against Barcelona. So, is Luke Sigma a veteran in your eyes? A EuroLeague veteran? So maybe I could go for Luke Sigma. He had some...
He's 33 or
33.
34. Yeah.
So, just like Nick. Of course, Nick has been in the EuroLeague longer. But Luke Sigma, I know he had some tough games recently, and sometimes when he faced very physical opponents, they push him out of his comfort zone. He might struggle, but he's probably the guy you expect to do a triple-double. Nick Kalaitis is one of those guys also. They're probably top 2 favorites. And out of love for Luke Sigma, I'll pick him.
Okay.
He's been loyal to Alba Berlin, although we know he has more than enough quality to play somewhere else and compete for the title and maybe earn more money. But he's been there in Berlin for quite a while, and I always love watching him play. Even though, as I said, like In the last game, for example, against Fenerbahce, he really struggled because they were very physical on him. He got into foul trouble, etc., etc.
Yeah. And what was your pick?
The call.
The Colo. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. So the next one of the last ones. Fine, I'll do it by myself. Best player with least help.
Nando De Colo.
Yeah, exactly. That fits
true.
the description of having least help, because if you go for like Mike James winning games on his own, he does that and he makes 4-point plays. But can you say he doesn't have help in Monaco? He has a lot of help.
Honorable mention, Lorenzo Brown.
Lorenzo Brown. It's not that they lack quality in the roster, but they lack chemistry and good coaching, and Lorenzo has to do it on his own. But
And the injuries right now.
Yeah. And the problem is that sometimes
But
Lorenzo...
De Colo still wins this category.
That's true. That's a fair point. I just wanted to be a little bit more original with this one. I go with Dwayne Bacon. I was inspired by his last performance against Milan. He scored 31 points, and if my good colleague, well-respected Greek journalist Chris is not lying, he scored 29 of his 31 points unassisted. And he leads the EuroLeague in ISO plays attempted 5.3 and ISO plays made 2 per game. For example, this Mike James is second with 4.4 and 1.8 made. And for example, the third one is Lorenzo Brown with 3.3 ISO plays. So this is a huge difference between him and Bacon. With Bacon, I mean, Pau 5 and 2 since his arrival. You cannot say that he doesn't have any help in Athens, but at the same time, again, a lot of players were in and out. Walters, Grigonis, and offensively they were lacking of some more force.
But I think I have a better example. It's Chris Jones, and you get the answer how important Chris Jones is to Valencia when you see Valencia without Chris Jones, because without Chris Jones, they don't even look competitive. With Chris Jones, they can beat anybody, at least at home, or they did beat Olympiacos away from home. And Jones has been their key player, and they're very dependent on him. So
I would say Chris Jones over Dwayne Bacon.
I would say so.
Because like Dwayne Bacon, I mean, he is the best in ISO situations. So you just give the ball him in these and let him play. And you know, looking at his teammates, you know, you have Derek Williams, Papagiannis, Nate Walters. And, you know, if Pau has Papagiannis, you have Yves Pons playing the center position in as well. So just more help probably around Dwayne Bacon. But, he does it himself.
Okay, the next one. Most generous best passer award.
Most generous.
Most generous. Oh, yeah. Most generous.
Most generous passer. Or best passer.
Best passer, yeah.
Nicolaitis is the best passer.
Nicolaitis is the best passer in the league.
Nobody can pass the ball the way he does. Sometimes he does it like Magic Johnson.
And he has the same passes that he did last year to Nikola Mirotic. Right now he's passing to John Motley and others. And the way he sees the court, he scans the court all the time in transition. He sees the mismatches in the fastest possible way in the all EuroLeague.
But again, there are 5 players in the EuroLeague that are averaging more than 6 assists per game, and I'd just love to see Luke Sikma in that company, because all the other players are obviously point guards. Lukas, Micic, Brown, and Kalaitis.
Luke Sikma is the first big since Nikola Vucic that made top 10. Actually, Vucic was in the top 5 15 years ago, playing for Maccabi in 26 and 7 season with 3.9 assists on average. Luke Sikma actually averages 6.1, and from his assists, Alba scores 14.6 points per game out of 81, which is 18%, and this is the third biggest impact even among the best passers in the EuroLeague. And you can add his scoring average, which is 8.6. So we're kind of getting 1/4 of all Alba points created by Luka Sikma. So just to give him credit, just because I knew that you're gonna go with Kalaitis, I took Luke Sikma for this award, because it's just amazing to see the big and on the top of these best passers in the EuroLeague. We have a lot of great point guards. best transition. So the last award goes for the best rookie of the EuroLeague so far.
1, 2,
Should we
3.
say it
Okay,
altogether?
1, 2, 3.
Jonathan Motley.
Okay.
And there's no competition, actually. There are some players who are performing and they're balling,
Yeah.
but there's no one close to Jonathan Motley and the impact that he has.
Number-wise, consistency-wise, importance-wise, the
Winning-wise.
team is winning.
Impact on the court. You can mention anything.
Like you said during the season, or was it before the season, that you might expect him to make the All EuroLeague
first
team?
or second team.
First or second, so at least
First time a rookie could do it.
At least the second team is a lock, and now we're discussing about the first team. At center position, you don't see anyone playing better. Like before the season, you would easily predict Eddie Tavares
To be there.
but right now, I would say that Motley has been even more impressive. So what else? What else can we say?
Yeah, and even if not the first team, I mean, he can become at least second team lock, and it's already a huge accomplishment. I mean, I think he would be the first EuroLeague rookie to make the at least second team since Anthony Randolph and Ekpe Udo.
I think it was 2016 or 17.
Yeah, something like that.
That year.
That's huge.
I think last one was Ekpe Udo.
Yeah.
I remember doing that prediction spot, and
There was Anthony Randolph. I think Anthony
Yeah.
Randolph was also there
they
because he
both-
was coming from
but I think-
Krasnodar.
Udo was the last one, probably. But whatever.
Yeah, this is it, guys. Unless you have something to say about Alperen Sengun. What's your impression about him? As Nikola Jokic, as Joker told, should Rockets play through him more?
Man, they could play more through him, and he has plenty of skills. Although I would love to see him improve his shooting, because if you are a big man that has the ball a lot and creates the offense, you're also people also expect you to knock down some shots. And so far, he's pretty good in mid-range game, but the three-point shooting has been off. But the thing is that Houston Rockets don't need to win games. They don't need to prepare any tactical, strategical decisions that might lead to more wins. And playing through Alperen Sengun, it's a process. Maybe you could have a bigger usage, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. It's not what the Rockets are here to do. They are growing a group of young players, and at the same time, they're tanking for more lottery picks. That's it. I really hate talking about teams, NBA teams, that are not in a position to compete.
To win.
Yeah, because you can overact easily.
In this context, it's kind of difficult to judge talent and players. And for example, it's not only Sengun. They have Green, they have Kenyon Martin Jr. These are promising players, promising young players. But in the future, we will talk about them when the Houston Rockets are competitive. But right now...
You said a big man has to have improve his shooting. I mean, Domantas Sabonis is doing pretty well in the Sacramento without the jump shot, and their offense is amazing. And just watching the Rockets play, it's Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. dribbling, shooting the mid range, and then getting a transition bucket on the other side. So, but I agree with you. The NBA is tricky because when you don't need to win, it's, there is a lot of stuff behind the doors. And I believe Rockets would be better offensively with Sengun getting more touches, but if they don't need it right now, if they don't see it, even though I don't agree, like not playing through Sengun doesn't allow him to grow as a player. And it is important because I believe the Rockets imagine him as one of the pieces for, future success. So not playing through him as much is a little bit strange for me. So
you can find more detailed Augustus breakdown on our BasketNews YouTube channel. Rockets limiting Sengun is a mistake. That's a statement. Double round week this week. Guys, do you have any games you marked? I know that Regis already told that he feels bad about Argentina and Zalgiris and Zvezda. But besides that, if there was no football.
Fenerbahce, Oli?
True.
Monaco Barca.
Monaco Barca.
Another amazing game for the next round. That's pretty tough. We will be following if Zvezda and Duško Ivanovic will make history. They're hosting Milan. Fener Baskonia, two exciting teams playing. Partizan Efes.
Barca Panathinaikos.
Okay. Barca Panathinaikos and Partizan Efes should be cool. Thanks a lot, guys, and see you soon next week.